welcome to this week's episode of Raqs Talks. I'm Parazad.
I'm Faiza.
And this week we have the fabulous Zahra Zuhair! Yay!
We're super excited because Zahra is my original Egyptian style teacher many years ago.
And just a legend in general in belly dance. So.
Like literally a legend.
Literally.
LA
and California legend, Zahra Zuhair.
So let's get right to it. You don't care about us, you care about her. So, hi, Zahra.
Hi.
We miss you so much here, even though we wouldn't be able to see you as much as we would like. But nevertheless, I was very sad when you were like, I have to go to Ohio because I like having you here.
Thank you. I miss LA. I miss people. I miss everybody in LA. I love being here, actually. And the strange thing is, with the pandemic and everything that's happened, I've been seeing a lot of my LA friends on Zoom, so it's been pretty great, you know.
Well, you were still able to teach the Legends intensive, so that everyone was via Zoom. So
I mean, of course, I'd rather be in person teaching, but you know, it really is great, you know, to be able to reach. You have a very wide reach, you know, on Zoom, so it's really great.
So you moved last fall, if I recall. Yes. And so you only had a couple months before everything went bonkers.
Yeah, so by the time I was settled here and everything, we're into the full pandemic. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. So, you know, I haven't gotten really into the community. Of course, I do have students here, but I haven't had a chance to get really full into the community because nothing's really happening.
Right.
But it'll be fine. I mean, things are probably starting to get a little more open here.
Right.
Probably more so than LA.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. But I gotta say that our list of people when we were first deciding this, everyone was going to be an in-person interview in our mind, in our concept. And Roxanne she lives in Anaheim, and she's not that far, but we had to do a Zoom with her because she had.
Well, yeah, because she was going to be starting school soon because she's a principal, and so she was just like, can't risk it, have to make sure that I'm good. So we did that and it ended up fine. So now actually I think we've only done 3 in-person talks and everything else has been Zoom. And we've interviewed people in Atlanta and Minneapolis, everywhere. So it's been
pretty cool.
So Zahra, for those of us who don't know, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started in belly dance?
Well, I started very young. My mom is the one that got interested in taking lessons, and I just went along with her, and I'm the one that got hooked. I'm the one that just got crazy about it. I just continued doing it and taking lessons on my own, and I never meant to do it professionally. It never entered my mind. It's just something that happened, just one thing after another. My first teacher passed away quite young. People started asking me to teach. Then I ended up taking her job that she had dancing. And it was just one of these really weird things that I never planned on. I never thought I would be professional. And then it just kept snowballing. And here I am.
So where was this? Because I know that you moved back to Ohio to be with your parents. Were you taking these initial belly dance classes in Ohio, and then did you come to LA?
Yeah, I had a very long career here before I came to LA.
Really?
I did not realize that.
Yeah, I mean, probably 10 years I was dancing before I came to LA. I was teaching, I had a lot of students. Then I started traveling, and I wasn't teaching. I started traveling and working in different cities and in Europe, and I was going to Egypt. It wasn't as open as it is now because of all once in the early 2000s when the festivals in Egypt started, it really opened up everything. People started coming from all over the world, and then that kind of global phenomenon of belly dance started probably in the early 2000s. But way back when, Mahmoud Reda was the only one that was really the easiest to take classes from, if you were a foreigner. And little by little, other teachers started teaching foreigners. They just didn't understand why foreigners would want to learn the dance. Well, America was really the first, as far as foreign countries, for belly dance to make a big splash. In the 70s, it was huge. It was just amazing. Just hundreds of women would be in a class, just like when Zumba first got popular or something like that. It was just like crazy, just crazy. So it took a while for the Egyptians to really realize how much people loved belly dance. I brought Raqs Hassan to the United States in 1999. She had been here before with Turquoise International, but I brought her in 1999 and I took her to Raqs, and she nearly passed out when she saw that we had a big festival like that. She couldn't believe it. That kind of started her first Ahlan wa Sahlan festival. I think that gave her the idea. That's when things really opened up. But it took a while for them to really realize how crazy a lot of us foreigners are for their dance.
And it's funny that you say that they didn't have a concept for why we would, because Roxanne Shalaby was talking about how her father, one of the things that he had to do is also explain to the Arabs and the Middle Easterners that were frequenting his restaurant why these crazy American women were so wild about the dance. And because when it was like Zanuba or it was Maya Metwar, any of those, like, okay, fine, we get it. But when it's like Blondie McBlonderson over here is now being like, la 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 la, they're just like, why?
Yeah.
How many times have you been to Egypt? Do you know?
I think I was trying to figure that out on the last trip. I think it was about 24 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the tours that you do through Egypt?
Yes, I've conducted many, many tours. I've started organizing tours for dancers about 20 years ago. I've done several different kinds of tours where we've gone to festivals. Maybe it was just specifically Ahlan wa Sahlan tour, as well as cultural tour. I mean, we would tour we would do all the sightseeing. It would be centered around a specific festival, or I would tailor a tour for a certain group of people that wanted to study with certain dancers. Recently, I started working with Yasmina of Cairo. That's just been so much fun. All of them are fun. But I started working with Yasmina, and she's just a joy. She just has this adorable home and with a studio, and we have parties in her house, and musicians come to the house, and we go see dancers. Of course, we go see dancers. That's the big thing. Just had to take classes and have a great time. So I've done several different kinds of tours. But recently I've been doing the tours with Yasmina, and we've been going to Siwa, the Siwa Oasis, which is, oh my gosh, it's just magic. Like going back to biblical times. I mean, you just can't believe it. It's really...
That's one of the things that I'm looking forward to, is going to Siwa.
Yeah.
And the photo shoot. I'm looking forward
Sure.
because I'm like that. And getting to see the dancers.
Oh yeah, we went, oh gosh, we saw so many dancers. We see so many dancers, and we stay up all night, and we're half crazy, all giggling all the time because we have no sleep, and it's just wonderful. Big belly dancer slumber party.
Belly dancer slumber party.
I love that. I love that. I have a question. One of the things that I often hear dancers criticize other dancers for is like, oh, this dancer shouldn't be smiling in this song because it's a song about longing or something like that. But I recall very distinctly in one of your workshops or one of my private lessons, I don't know, at some point you said to me, we're still supposed to be dancing for the audience and not making them feel sad. Yeah. And then along with this, I'm thinking of, who was it talking about? Was it you talking about Helena saying?
No, it was Laura Lale was talking about Helena being like, they paid you to dance, they paid you to be at this party. You make it a party.
You're happy.
Like,
you're happy that you're dancing. So I just wanted to get your take on that.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of emotion in Arabic music, and there are certain songs, of course, that are very sad, just like there's American songs or any songs that are sad, especially romantic songs. If you were dancing, and this is what I like to tell people, if you were dancing with your friends at a party and a song came on that you love, and you're like, oh, you remember this song? Oh, I loved this song when I was in college or whatever. And it might be a really sad song, but it makes you happy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you're like, yeah, I love this. And you can dance to it with all your heart and feeling, but it's bittersweet. When you're dancing, you're telling a story, but it's not happening to you. Maybe it's gut-wrenching.
Right.
Like, happy days. You know, you don't want to make people uncomfortable too. You know, when you're dancing, you're performing, you're still the dancer. And you can put a lot of feeling in it. There's a lot of emotion and movement too. It's how you project your feelings, really. You don't have to act like you're dying or ready to like, or ready to, that's kind of weird. I mean, you're still doing a performance. You're entertaining people. It's hard to kind of get that across to people because, you know, if you can relate it to your own experiences with your own music, American music, and think about the songs that you really love, and when it comes on, you're like, oh, I love this song. Oh my gosh, I remember this song. And you're not going to just like cry. It's something that you love. It might bring up a lot of emotion in you, but if you're out dancing with your friends, you're going to be just, oh, I just love this, you know? And this is the same with Middle Eastern people, depending on the music you're dancing to. They love that song. And if you're dancing to it, they might be singing to it. Even if it's an instrumental, they might be singing out loud to it. A lot of times they are. You want your dance to come across that you understand what the lyrics are, but you don't have to act sad and overly emotional.
That makes a lot of sense. There's a song that I love, Akti Bali, that it's just like this particular recording of it that I have is just kind of like so kind of like sensual, and like to me it comes across as a little flirtatious. But then I looked at the lyrics and it's him being like, the love, the passion isn't there anymore, the fire's gone out. What are we doing? I love you, but I don't. Do you still love me? Are we ending this? And I'm like, I don't know how to dance to this. But it makes sense. You should be like, I mean, this is a song that people know this. And like, yeah, like have a little bit of that longing, that whole like, are we? Like in it, but don't be like torturing yourself on stage in front of an audience.
Yeah, you don't want to act like you're tortured because that makes people uncomfortable.
Like also if you're tortured, like if you're like, I don't know if I'm going to break up with the love of my life or not, you're probably in a sweatpants and t-shirt situation and not in this glamorous costume with full hair and makeup.
Right. You can Haagen-Dazs, you know, in your sweatpants and, you know. I taught to that song many times. But in one particular workshop in the show that night, I danced to that song. There were Arabs in the audience and they started singing out loud. A whole table of them started singing out loud and you know, standing up and singing out loud. And some of the girls that were in the class said, you said they would sing, and they did. And I said, well, they don't always sing, but, you know, a lot of times your audience will sing along with the song because they love that song, or it's a famous song and they know the lyrics. They want to be entertained and be happy, even though it's a sad song.
One of the reasons I really, really enjoy watching you dance is because you always have such a serene expression when you're performing, that you are enjoying the movement, you're enjoying the music, you're enjoying everything that's going on. It's not like, hey, I'm having fun. Won't you have fun with me?
No, when I dance, that I go to my happy place. So I really am because people have told me that you look very relaxed on stage. I am, because I'm in my happy place, and I really get into that. But it's also who I am. I've learned to be calm. I'm a pretty calm person, and I've learned to be, this took years of work, but I am a serene person, and I stopped torturing myself about obsessing about performances and, oh, I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to be perfect. There's no such thing as perfect, by the way. And you don't want to be anyway. Art isn't perfect. And performance is performance. And every performance is different, and you have to let that come out. And you have to be yourself on stage, whatever that is. And if you are a bubbly, hey, I'm happy, be yourself. You have to be yourself. That's what comes across to people is honesty. You can't be anybody else. You can only be yourself, and you have to decide what you want to project to people and what makes you comfortable and what is honestly you. You can't lie to your audience. They know it.
Yeah, they pick up on inauthenticity.
These days with YouTube, so many people watch YouTube and learn from YouTube. And that can be great. I mean, that's a great thing. I mean, it's wonderful to be able to see people all over the world. But I find people emulating other dancers. And I know exactly who they're emulating when you see them. Oh yeah, I saw them on YouTube too. The best performance is when you're honest, and you got to open your heart too. You got to be who you are. That's a scary thing to do. It's very frightening to open yourself up to people and let people see who you are. That's why people prefer to emulate somebody else or be a different character. I mean, on stage, you are a larger version of yourself,
right?
But you have to be honest about who you are. People know it. I mean, and that's going to be your best performance is when you just are yourself and you can't be worried about opening yourself up to people. And people are going to love you. And not everybody in the world is going to love you. And that's another thing. Everybody's so afraid of people not liking them or the audience, oh, they're not going to like me. So and there are going to be people who love you. Not everybody in the world is going to love you in real life or on stage. It's just the way it goes. My very first teacher kind of told me that. She says, not everybody's going to love you, so just get over it.
Good advice.
Yeah. It's just the way it is. In your real life, it doesn't matter how nice you are, how wonderful you try to be. There's always going to be people who don't like you. So you're not their cup of tea. And that's okay, because there's plenty of people who love you and love what you do. It's really a process. It takes work. It takes work, and you got to keep reminding yourself of that. Go to your happy place and hit that stage and just open your heart.
That is definitely how you come across when you perform. And I think that the authenticity of it is what makes it so enjoyable for me. There's a style that's pretty popular these days that is very athletic, and it's big on YouTube and everywhere. And I think that it's impressive. I'm talking Russian style.
You say it or I will. Like
Russian style. I mean, I don't have a problem with people wanting to do Russian style. I mean, it's impressive. But I think that the reason that I don't enjoy it as much, their focus is on hitting every accent and every beat and that kind of thing.
They want a 10 out of 10 from the East German judge.
Yes, yes. And it's not really about expressing the music. It's about murdering the music and
dominating.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's definitely a whole style in itself.
Yeah.
And so much of that style is competition style, because competitions are so huge over there. They are highly, highly, highly trained dancers. You see some of them, they've spent their whole life in ballet, or maybe it's ballroom or whatever, they're extremely athletic. If you want to copy that, you better have that kind of training, because it's not going to come off well. I see people trying to dance way outside their ability level because of what they see on YouTube. And whether you like it or don't like it, it's up to you. A lot of people love it. It's impressive for sure. I really appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot. But it's not me. Some people are very athletic dancers, and that's great. I mean, that's just how they are. And there's always been very athletic dancers and people who have a lot of very strong, let's say, ballet background, and they like using that in their Oriental dance, and that's their style. You like it, you don't like it, it's up to you. Yeah, that's the thing about people watching a lot of YouTube. They try to emulate things that they really can't do very well. You have to really be careful of that. And it's wonderful to see different styles, and you get to decide what you like, what you don't like. It's very interesting time in the dance as far as this whole social media, YouTube, everything. It's just, you can see everything. And it's great, and I think, but at the same time, just that kind of copycat thing is really a little too big now. People think that they have to achieve that or be that athletic, or people aren't going to like their dancing. So you come off best on stage being yourself and knowing what kind of a dancer you really are, what style really suits you. Some people gravitate to being a little more soft, and some people are just naturally very athletic and energetic. You got to know yourself. That's it. You got to know yourself. It's kind of hard to know yourself.
I was just going to say, that's the hard part.
Yeah, it is a lot harder to know your authentic self in this day and age, because all we see, especially in the time of COVID, when all you see of all of your friends and family is their social media, and your social media has always been a platform to project. We're just seeing projections of people. We're not seeing authenticity. And so we were doing a social media challenge with the dancer Katie Zahra. It's called #SocialShimmy. And one of the posts was, what's your biggest obstacle in dance? And I said, one of my biggest obstacles in dance is fear. If it's stage fright, if it's fear that people won't like me or love me, or it's a scarcity mentality. I'm afraid someone's going to take my project, they're going to take my idea. And that post got more responses than any of my other posts, but it's because it was a moment of authenticity. It was a moment of vulnerability. And I think that's part of the problem is, social media, it's belly dance. On the one hand, it's people want to see me in a pretty costume, Photoshop to here. But on the other hand, they also, especially now with COVID and everything, people are still seeking connection. And I think that's the thing is, for you and for us, this dance is about connection. It's about connecting with the audience. It's hey, I'm dancing to that song that was your favorite song for 3 weeks in college versus look at all the things I can do.
Right.
Right, yeah. Zoom is amazing. That's why I'm so glad that you're teaching on Zoom, and that so many fabulous teachers have moved to Zoom, so that way those of us who can afford instructors still have people who can provide us contacts.
Yeah, you need to have, that's the thing about social media, or, people learning on, like you say, YouTube, is you have to have a teacher. Mm-hmm. It's wonderful to learn a move, but you're still not dancing. You have to learn how to dance and put it all together and what it all means and put it into context. You still need to be in the classroom. It's dance. That's what dance has always been. You got to be in the classroom. And the thing about social media too is, I tell a lot of people, you really do need to limit your time on social media. Nothing will kill your creativity faster. It's a snapshot of people's lives. It's not real. It's not their life. It starts to make so many people feel like, oh, I'm not enough, I'm not doing enough, I'm not popular enough, I'm not pretty enough, I don't dance well enough, all these people are so fabulous and I'm not, It really is a place that it can also be very toxic. It's very important to limit your time on social media. Social media is great you can find out what's going on all over the world and what everybody's doing and events, and it's just great. But you really need to limit your time. I've had so many people that have, told me I had to just get off for a while. I said, yeah, you should get off for a while. It's not good for you. I have seen a lot of the challenges where people are talking about self-care. And that's the one thing I would add to self-care is limit your time on social media. And try to put it in perspective. They're snapshots. It's publicity. It's not real. That's part of self-care, is taking care of everything. It's not just a bubble bath. Those are great things. Or a long hot shower and doing yoga and all those other things. It's all wonderful. I'm a long time yogini myself. I love that. It's wonderful to care for yourself in other ways, and sometimes we forget what we're letting into our psyche. I'm very careful about what I let into my psyche. It's very important as part of my serene thing.
I love that. Another reason that dancers in particular, or any artist, needs to get off of social media is we end up arguing about the art that we're doing and spending all our time arguing about it. And I remember back during the Buzz days, I keep talking about Buzz. When I first joined Buzz, I was like, if these ladies would spend half the time actually practicing that they spend on Buzz, they would be freaking phenomenal. Bingo. And I still think that now on Facebook.
Yeah, I ask people, wow, you spend so much time and energy arguing on these threads. I mean, it's just crazy, and following all these threads. You really have that much time? And then you tell me you don't have time to practice. I don't think so. I think you waste time. A lot of people waste a whole lot of time on things that are not healthy and that don't make any difference. And half of these arguments are, it's just a matter of opinion. Everybody has their opinions. You're just wasting your time arguing over silly things when you could be practicing, doing something happy and furthering your art. You know, this is art. It's your art. Work on yourself. Don't worry about anybody else. Let them worry about themselves. I mean, their style's probably not like, nobody's like you. You're unique. I mean, that's a thing that I probably miss most about some of the old days before social media, especially when I first started. You had to be unique. You didn't want to be like anybody else. I mean, when students emulate their teachers, that's part of learning. That's part of any learning process. We emulate our teachers, and then you eventually start working on your own style. And that's what you want to present to your audience, is your own style. You need to study, and you need to work on yourself, and you need to expand your knowledge about the dance and not argue about it on social media, because you're wasting your time, for one thing, and you're not working on yourself. And if you're not working on yourself, you're wasting your time. At some point, you have to be who you are and know that that's okay. Of course it's okay. You know, it's your art. You're expressing your feelings to the music, and you're showing your dance to your audience. I mean, that's all you can do. And just, we keep working at it and working at it. We never reach perfection. You don't want it. There's no such thing as being perfect, and you don't want to be perfect. Art isn't perfect. Art is not perfect. It's something we constantly work on, and you're always reaching different levels. So that's what you work on, is reaching different levels of your art. I tell people, you know, within Egyptian style, each dancer is so different. They would never try to emulate another dancer. They strive to be unique. And if everybody starts copying them, then they change. So when you see different dancers, even within Egypt, they are very different. Their styles are very different because they want to be unique. That's why they're famous, is because they're unique. It's not because they copy anybody.
Right.
Or, oh, this is an Egyptian move, so I'm going to do this Egyptian move. Yeah, the steps belong to the dance, but the way everybody expresses them is very different, and how they use them to music is very different. Some people are very athletic. That's kind of their thing. They're just, or very energetic. Some people are very soft. And some people are kind of in between that. And that's what you need to see when you are looking at different dancers. See their uniqueness. They're not copying anybody. If they're famous, they don't copy anybody.
It's true. I mean, only Jelena is famous for dancing like Jelena. There are so many dancers, and I mean, she's beautiful. She's an incredible dancer. And she has so many DVDs that we all follow and buy. But she's the only one who's famous for dancing like Jelena. Nobody got famous to be like, oh, Zarina Kabir, my old stage name. Zarina Kabir, famous for dancing like Jelena. It's like, no, that would never happen.
Right. It's like when you see somebody imitating Randa, Egypt. It's like, oh, she watches a lot of Randa videos, Wow, Randa move, Randa move, Randa move. It's cool. Do a Randa move, but make it your own. This was a thing when Egyptian style really hit the United States, is so many people started emulating famous dancers of that time. Let's say like Zuhair Zeki or Fifi Abdu and this one or that one. And they would copy their personality, not just steps, but their mannerisms, their even postural quirks, personality quirks, and think that they were being Egyptian style. You're doing an impersonation of somebody. Egyptian style. You're just copying somebody down to their personality and all their mannerisms and everything. It's kind of hard to separate that. I understand that. For some people, they're trying their best to try it on and see how it feels. And how do I achieve this style? You achieve that style by just understanding the music, for one, and working on your dance, and really studying the culture and what that means, That's when you achieve the style. But you gotta be yourself. Steps are steps. They belong to the dance. They don't belong to anybody. But the way people do them can be very much their style. Like Randa has a very specific way she does steps and movements, and Zuhair Zeki has a very specific way she does movements. But that has to do with their personality, their mannerisms, the energy they put into it, the way their body moves. Everybody's body moves different. So it's really a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and there's a lot to sift through, and it's a process. It's quite a process.
Well, thank you, Zahra. That was absolutely fantastic.
Before we go, though, we usually like to ask our guests what's in the future, like what future projects, or where can we find them on social media? What are they going to be doing for the rest of 2020?
Okay, well, I'm going to launch my Patreon channel, or my page, whatever you call it. Probably next week, I'll launch that. And I'm going to schedule another Zoom workshop, a choreography workshop. I think Arabic pop. I have a fun song that I like that's been playing in my head. I think I need to teach it. Probably for October. So be watching for that. I'm on Facebook, Zahra Zuhair Raqs Sharky, Zahra Zuhair Raqs Sharky, and or Zahra Zuhair Dance Artist. I have 2 pages. I'm on Instagram. Look me up. I'll be posting when things are coming up. I'll be doing some workshops before the end of the year on Zoom, so anybody can join in.
And you post once a week, you post a little, like a short combo on your YouTube channel, which I love because it's just a little nugget when I'm feeling kind of, I can't figure out what to do here, or, or I'm feeling stagnant.
Yeah. Sometimes it's 8 counts, sometimes it's 16 counts. Just a little inspiration.
Yeah. And then I always hear you in my head going, and you can add a shimmy to that.
Shimmy to anything, yeah.
So just for Zoom, for people that want to catch up with you on Zoom or to take classes with you through Zoom, is that through a particular studio or is that through your own website?
On my own website, zahrazuhair.com.
Okay, perfect.
And sometimes I do teach for Dance Garden LA, but I do teach my own workshops also. The next workshop that I'll do will be my own, and I'll be posting that on Facebook and Instagram, and it'll be on my website soon.
Well, that was a great time with Zahra. I I don't know. I get all.
You're everything.
So thanks for joining us. This was Raqs Talks. I'm Faiza.
I'm Parazad. Please give us a like, comment, and share if you can. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Masalama.